So let's study fertilization and implantation. So fertilization, if we know, is fusion of female nucleus and sperm to form a zygote. It occurs in the ampulla of fallopian tube. Like the secondary oocyte is surrounded by vaginal placenta, zygote is also surrounded by vaginal placenta. Here, the role of vaginal placenta is this will not allow it to implant in the fallopian tube. The zygote is called morula up to 8 to 16 cell stage because it is mulberry shape, and till then it is surrounded by vaginal placenta, and it is continuously being moved towards the uterus by the cilia movement of the ciliary cells of the fallopian tube and the peristaltic movement of the fallopian tube. But it is mainly is due to the peristaltic movement of the fallopian tube. So there are some contraceptive measures that decrease this fallopian tube motility so that the ova doesn't so that the sperm cannot go towards the ova before fertilization. But if there's contraceptive failure, then this what happens is the fertilization is there because the effect of the decreased peristalsis is not that much, so fertilization occur. But this improper fertilization won't allow the zygote to come to the uterine cavity, so there is ectopic pregnancy, and this is mostly seen in the progesterone contraceptive because they are smooth muscle relaxants and they decrease the peristalsis movement. So on day 4, this zygote is moved to the uterine cavity. So day 4 after fertilization, that means day 18 after the menstrual cycles, because there is 2 week gap because we calculate the gestation age from the first day of LMP. So on day 5 there is zona hatching, that the zona pellucida role is now ended. So it hatches, and the fluid enters into the morula. Then there is this cavity formation for the fluid, so it will be called as now blastocyst. Then this blastocyst touches the endometrium of the uterine cavity, which will be termed as the implantation. So this is the blastocyst cavity, which is fluid filled. This is inner cell mass, and the outer layer is called prophoblast. So implantation begins at the 6th day, that means the 20th day of menstrual cycle, and ends at the 10th day after fertilization, that is day 25 of menstrual cycle. So in humans we see interstitial implantation, that means the blastocyst does not just attach like this, but it goes inside the endometrium, so it is called interstitial. Then after implantation, the endometrium will be called decidua, that is pregnant endometrium. The phases of implantation are apposition, preceded by pinopods, that is apposition is just touching, then adhesion, which is preceded by integrin selectin, then invasion, which is facilitated by metaproteinase. So how did this zygote know that it should stop and does not go into the myometrium? It is done by the Natta-Bucks layer, which limits the penetration of the blastocyst into the myometrium. Now comes the site of implantation. Site of implantation is the upper posterior wall of the uterus close to fundus. Okay, and the implantation always is incentive, that is on the one side, either on left or right. So due to this, in whichever side the implantation, there will be more growth. So asymmetrical growth of uterus is in the early pregnancy, which is called as Picksack sign. And also the true gestation sac is always eccentric, that it will also be on the either one side, left or right. Then Hartmann sign, placental sign, bleeding at the time of the implantation. Intradecidual sign is the earliest sign of ultrasound. Blastocyst implanted deep endometrium. So this is the endometrium. When the blastocyst implants, this will be seen on USG as intradecidual cell, that is inside the decidua. Then there are divisions of decidua after implantation. So they just decidua basalis, the site of formation of the future placenta, because so if this was our uterine cavity, this is our blastocyst. So endometrium on inner side is the decidua basalis, which will form the maternal side of the placenta. Then the decidua on the uterine cavity side is the decidua capsularis, which is formed like a capsule towards the cavity. it separates the blastocyst from the uterine cavity. Whatever the remaining decidua is there, the uterus, it will be called decidua paritalis. It can be seen clearly here. So this is decidua basalis, which is from the mother side of the placenta. This is decidua capsularis, and whatever in the green is decidua paritalis. Okay, so time of obliteration of the cavity is 14 to 6 weeks of gestation. That means this blastocyst will start growing and keep filling the uterine cavity, and there will be a point of time when this decidua capsularis will meet this decidua paritalis of this side, and the uterine cavity will be obliterated. This occur on the 14 to 16 weeks of gestation. Then for dizygotic twins, in humans, the ova will be in the same cycle. This is called superfecundation. That is more than one ova. Then double decidual sign. So as the blastocyst grows, it comes in the uterine cavity and causes indentation. So it will, like this, blastocyst start growing like this, and it keep growing and causes indentation in the uterine cavity until it fills the fully uterine cavity. So there will be a time when this decidua capsularis will meet the decidua paritalis of this side, and there will be no differentiation. So by this time what we'll see on the USG will be, so this is the decidua basalis, from where this blastocysts are going, and this keep going. This is the uterine cavity that is left. So this appears as this, the decidua paritalis is forming the outer ring, and the inner ring is formed by the decidua capsularis. So inner ring is by decidua capsularis, and the outer ring is by decidua paritalis. This is the double decidual sign or ring sign. Then let's see the structure of the blastocyst. So blastocyst, this is the cavity. And in blastocyst is the cells are arranged as 5 cells from the inner cell mass, and rest are called trophoblast. 53 are called trophoblast. So the function of inner cell mass is it forms the embryo. It forms the embryonic disc. What is the function of trophoblast? So trophoblast are after 8 days of fertilization will divide into cytotrophoblast and syncytotrophoblast. So out of the 53 cells, some will go into fuse and form a multinucleated syncytotrophoblast, which function is the hormone factory for the placenta, and the remaining trophoblasts are called cytotrophoblast because they are still retaining their cell boundaries. They divide to form villous and extra villous cytotrophoblast. So cytotrophoblast divide into villous and non-villous. So what is villous cytotrophoblast? So some of these cytotrophoblast will form a villi-like structure. Okay, and these villi are towards the decidua basalis. Okay, because they have to form the fetal, and these are called chorion frondosum, which form the fetal side of the placenta. Then the rest of the villous cytotrophoblast remain smooth, and they are called chorion leaf, which is chorion fetal membrane, which form chorions, which is a fetal membrane. So chorion is formed by the villous cytotrophoblast that does not take part in the formation of placenta. Then the non-villous cytotrophoblast, they have two functions. They form cytotrophoblast shell, and there is endovascular cytotrophoblast, which will replace the lining of the maternal spinal arteries to decrease the resistance of the maternal spinal arteries blood flow, which if does not, and if this trophoblastic invasion does not occur, it can lead to uteroplacental insufficiency. That means not enough blood is coming to the uterus. There is PIH because. So what is trophoblastic invasion? So let's assume this is the spiral arteries, this is the endothelium. So these trophoblasts will line this, and the maternal cells will be dissolved. So in a sense, it has increased the diameter of the spiral arteries. So the pressure is reduced and the supply is increased. But if this trophoblastic invasion does not occur, that means the spiral artery is still narrow, and so there is less supply. So uteroplacental insufficiency PIH and IUGR because of the less blood flow. So summarize the trophoblast. So trophoblast has 5 cell and 53 cells. 5 cell from the inner cell mass and 53 cells are trophoblast. Trophoblast after days 8 will divide into cytotrophoblast and syncytio. Syncytio is multinucleated which forms the hormone factory of placenta. Cytotrophoblast will form two kind, villus and non-villus. Villus, some of them will form the chorion frondosome which will form the fetal cytoplacenta. Some of them form chorion leaf that they do not take part in the formation of placenta and will form chorion. And the non-villus, they form the endovascular connective tissue. That means they replace the lining of the spinal arteries and decrease the resistance. And this is called trophoblastic invasion. Now comes to the inner cell mass. So the 5 cells that were on the blastocyst, they will form the inner cell mass and they will form the embryonic disc. So they will divide and form the embryonic disc in the middle. First they were like this, then they will form the embryonic disc in the middle, and then the cavity is divided into two. The upper is called amniotic cavity, the lower is called yolk sac. So on the upper side, so first layer formed is endoderm, then ectoderm, then mesoderm. Endoderm is formed on the lower side, on the yolk sac side. That's why yolk sac is also called endodermal sac. Endodermal sac. And on the amniotic cavity side, ectoderm is formed, which also form the amnion. So chorion was formed from the trophoblast, villus cytotrophoblast that did not take part in the formation of placenta, and amnion is formed by the ectoderm of the amniotic cavity. Then amniotic cavity is lined by ectoderm and gives rise to amnion. Yolk sac is lined by and also called endodermal sinus. First germ lays endoderm, then ectoderm, then mesoderm. On USG, this will be seen as a double bleb sign, that is two cavities. So amniotic disc start developing curving on both sides. This is caudal end and this is cephalic end, this is caudal end. So this is the amniotic disc which start curving on both poles, and now this length of this amniotic disc can be measured, which will be called as crown rump length. Then heart starts beating on 21 day after fertilization, that is 20 days, that is 28 days, 20th day of the cycle or 4 weeks of gestation age. But this cardiac activity will be seen on USG after 6 weeks. Okay, let's go to USG findings in early pregnancy. So fetal structure which are formed, first is from the gestational sac. So what is gestational sac? So this is gestational sac. This blastocyst implanted in the endometrium is the gestational sac. Then after the inner cell mass from the embryonic disc, there is formation of yolk sac. Then the embryonic disc curves and the crown rump length is visible. Then cardiac activity is visible. So gestational sac is seen at 4 weeks. Yolk sac is seen at 5 weeks. Crown length is at the same time. Cardiac activity is seen at 6 weeks. For transabdominal scan, this is time on TVS plus 1 week. Okay, so pregnancy, okay, it is calculated from first day of LMP. Number of days of pregnancy is not equal to number of days of conception or fertilization. Okay, this is conceptual thing. So first sign of pregnancy is intradecidual sign, that is the implantation of the blastocyst, which is seen at the 4th day. Intradecidual sign is in 4th day. Correspond to formation of gestational sex. So then it should be 4 week, not 4th day. Then double decidual sign, that is when the inner cell mass from the embryonic disc and the blastocyst cavity is divided into two. This is seen then third is seen when there is double bleb sign. So double decidual sign is the formation of capsules and that. Okay. Formation of gestational sac. Fuck this duration. Don't remember this duration. So first is intradecidual sign. That is the blastocyst implanted inside in the endometrium. Then there is double decidual sign. That means when it is keep growing in towards the uterine cavity, and when the capsularis is just near to the decidua parietalis, double ring sign. Then double bleb sign, when the blastocyst, the inner cell mass of the blastocyst divided into the embryonic disc, and there's formation of the yolk sac and the amniotic cavity. First fetal structure seen on USG is gestational sac. So, and there is this concept: if when when the beta HCG values increases more than 2000 international per liter, then in 100% cases gestational sac will be visible on the TVS. So this level of beta HCG is called discriminatory zone or the critical value BCSG. So critical value beta HCG is the value of beta HCG after which in 100% cases the gestational sac will be visible on the TVS. For TS this is 6500. So a case 1. So suppose if a patient has beta HCG value of 2000 but there is no gestational sac, that means it should be visible but it is not visible, that means it is somewhere else, that is there is ectopic pregnancy. Then in second case, female has less than 2000 beta HCG value, there is no gestational sac, so that means the discriminatory zone value is not reached for the beta HCG, that is the critical value not reached. So we can wait and repeat the USG after 1 week, or what we can do is that we can repeat the beta HCG after 48 hours of this sampling, because in pregnancy beta HCG value doubles every 48 hours. So if the beta HCG value is doubling, that means it is normal intrauterine pregnancy. If it does not double, then it means it is a ectopic pregnancy. Then there is a thing called mean sac diameter, that is we are measuring the size of the gestational sac. So if the gestational sac is more than 10 mm and no yolk sac is seen, that means gestational sac was present but the inner cell mass division, formation of the embryonic is not there. So this is called pseudo gestational sac or ectopic pregnancy. So what is pseudo gestational sac? So pseudo gestational sac is in case of ectopic pregnancy. So it is located centrally, unlike normally which is eccentric. Its size remain constant. It grows by day. Double testicle sign not present. Here it is present. Yolk sac absent. Here it is present. Double bleb not present. Here it is present. Then what is, so if mean sac diameter is more than 25 mm and yolk sac is present, that means, but no fetal tissue. So after the gestational sac, yolk sac comes. After yolk sac comes fetal tissue or crown drum length or cardiac activity. But if these two present and these are not present, that means it is blighted ovum, that is an embryonic pregnancy, that is there is no embryo, there is just outer coverings. Now comes to crown lump. If crown lump is more than 7 mm but still there is no cardiac activity, then this is called missed abortion, that is the embryo is not alive. There will be no bleeding in this condition. Normally there is bleeding after abortion, but here there will be no bleeding, and that's why this is called missed abortion. So what you have to know of this is, first there is critical value beta HCG, which is 2000 for TVS, 6500 for TAS. So if beta HCG is more than 2000 but no gestational sac, because gestational sac is the first structure to be visible on the TVS. So if gestational sac is not visible but the beta HCG value is more than 2000, that means the implantation is not at the normal site, so it is ectopic pregnancy. If beta HCG is less than 2000, say it's 300, okay, then that means there should not be gestational sac visible on TVS. So we can wait for 1 week, or we can measure the beta HCG after 48 hours. It should double after 48 hours. If it is doubling, then it's normal intrauterine, and just wait and watch. The gestational sac will appear in the USG after some days. But if the beta HCG values are not doubling after 48 hours, that means it is an ectopic pregnancy. Then let's assume that beta HCG value more than 2000, the gestational sac is also visible, and we will measure the diameter, which will be called the mean sac diameter. Okay, so if mean sac diameter or gestational sac is more than 10 mm but still the yolk sac is not formed, that means this is a pseudo gestational sac of ectopic pregnancy. Okay, so it's just a thick decidua, nothing else. And now the mean sac diameter has reached more than 25 mm but still yolk sac is no, and yolk sac has formed. Okay, but after yolk sac we know crown lump, CRL comes, then the cardiac activity comes. But here what is, mean sac diameter is more than 25, yolk sac also present, but all of these are absent, so it is a blighted ovum, that is there is no embryo, that is the inner cell mass is not forming the embryo. So if beta HCG normal, decidual sign seen, okay, The MSD is also normal, yolk sac is also present, crown length is also present, which is more than 10 mm, but still no cardiac activity, then this is misabortion. That means the crown length present, that means there was embryo, but there is no cardiac activity, that means that embryo is not alive. So normally in abortion there is bleeding, but here there will be no bleeding because the embryo was never alive. So this will be called misabortion because this doesn't have any bleeding.